But I was going to say, in addition to those who are with us this morning that are going to talk about what's happening with the resettlement of immigrants in our community. So I think I was told that they're going to go in sequence. It's Lisa Caskey and Dave Whitmer, and I think he's speaking also in, he works along with Rose in this, but she was with children this morning, and June Yoder. But the order is Lisa, June, and then last Dave. So welcome. We're looking forward to hearing from you.
Irene?
Oh, and hold on a minute. We forgot Irene with announcements.
Guess that's my cue. I was looking on my phone for when our first meeting was, and I believe it was July 27th of last year, 22. Does it know? That was a year ago, like in 2029, not just this last July. Has it just been a year? Out the clothes, they were just kind of in piles. And so I brought my husband in, who had just built a new building for the Goshen Health Foundation across the street, and had a basement that was open, and offered one of those rooms to set up a little clothing store. So I did that. We set it up. We bought racks. We got some racks donated from and some hangers donated from different people, and set it up just like any kind of a consignment shop you would see. I have little size cards on there for small, medium, and large, and I had men's on one side and women's on the other, and I had children's in boxes that I could pull out. It worked out quite well because new families would just show up for the 11:11 service, and Madeline would give me a call and say, hey, I have a family. Can you meet me at the house? And so we did, and we would meet there, and they would go home with, you know, a large bag of clothing, and then I would schlep some clothes from the church office to the house, and that kind of kept going for quite a while. What happened there was that I started these relationships with these families that would come through. I learned that one of them was a pediatric surgeon, orthopedic pediatric surgeon, and I think he started sewing zipper cushions when he was here. You know, he can't be licensed, but his family, they didn't have much. One family didn't have boots. This was then cold by this time. So I went to the depot and bought them boots. And when I arrived at their mobile home, I saw that they just had mats on the floor. They didn't have pots and pans. I think they were sharing a plate. There were no dressers, no nothing. They just had some makeshift beds on the floors, no chairs. And so that really felt like there was a need for some furniture. And June and I had been in contact, and I'll let her speak a little more to how that started. But eventually we started then supplying furniture and for these families, beds. At least let's give them a bed. And then obviously they needed kitchen goods. But June was pretty busy with just beds. And so I put an announcement out, maybe somebody would be able to coordinate household items and things like lamps and tables and kitchen supplies, and Rose and Dave then volunteered. So we went from clothing and furniture to really furnishing households. And each of us has our own little part that we're a part of, and that we've even developed. I think when I talked to June, I asked if she would be willing to do this until April. That was last April. So I'm very grateful that she said yes and would give it a trial basis, and kept going. The thing that I've lost a little bit from moving out of the basement of the foundation office is the one-on-one relationships. I had started relating to at least 5 different families. And after meeting them in the basement and trying to kind of muddle through with my Spanish, which has gotten a lot better over the course of the year, they would need help with things like this was all on the Google Translate app. I don't speak Spanish over the phone very well. And one of the mothers said, I need to register Danny for school and I don't know where to go. I found out they were in Jefferson Township, and so I actually went with them to go register. The woman there said, oh, and you're the translator? I said, no, I'm just here to help. But we got through. She also needed glasses for her daughter, but wasn't sure how to begin. So I called Walmart, I called Meijer, I called the different glasses stores and asked if they would have a translator there. You know, when could somebody come who doesn't speak English, and helped her set up her glasses appointment. Different things like that that just kept kind of happening. And I thought, I need more of me, because I'm starting to relate to all these people, and as new families come in, I'm their point of contact with College Mennonite Church. And so then I'm the one that they'll call if they're not going to call Madeline. And so I asked Jane Short if she would be willing to try this. I thought, I really want to try doing this with somebody who doesn't speak Spanish and just see if it would work. And a point of entry, it seems a little overwhelming to say, could you relate to this Hispanic family? How do you start, right? So a good point of entry seemed to be when they would get a home and move into a place, because then that's kind of a business thing. You can ask specific questions and you can kind of start that relationship. So Jane did that. Jane was willing to do it with me. She got her Say Hi app. How many of you have seen the Say Hi app on a phone? A few of you. I'm going to show it to you because it's such a cool invention. So it's, let's see, where, I don't know if you can see, where is the camera? Right over there. So it's that one right down there in the corner. That's what it looks like. It's blue and has some, you know, kind of some dashes as if it were projecting something over Wi-Fi. And with this Say Hi app, I can say anything in English and it will then say it in Spanish. So it's like having your own personal translator right here. So I might say, I push the English button. Your appointment is next Wednesday. So it'll tell me exactly when it is. Let me try to get and turn it up a little bit. I have it turned down for, would you like to come and get some more clothes? You can change it to, it not only does it have Spanish, but it has Mexican Spanish, it has Venezuelan Spanish, it has Nicaraguan Spanish. It's an amazing app. It's called Say Hi. There's also an app called Google Translate, where you can cut and paste a text, which is what I did. Somebody would text me, and I would copy the whole text and drop it in this, and it would spit out the Spanish version of it, which I would then copy and insert it into the text that I texted back to the person. That's how I've been speaking with these families who only speak Spanish. So Jane went with me to this family's house to drop off boots, and she would use the Say Hi app to tell them things, and it worked very well. She continued to relate to the family after we provided dressers and beds and other things. And I think even sat with them at the English classes and still does communicate with them. That began a whole process of finding ambassadors. We're calling them ambassadors. We had a really difficult time coming up with a name, actually, because we wanted to make sure it was not some sort of a hierarchical helper. You know, we didn't want to just help them. We wanted to be on the same level as them. Liaison was nice. It was a little businessy. So ambassador just seemed to represent what we wanted this to be. Phyllis is an ambassador. She agreed to help with the moving process of a family. And I don't know if she's continues to be in contact. At the very least, an ambassador who helps a family move in, and by helping a family move in, what they really do is they are the liaison between June and Dave and Rose and the family, so that June doesn't have to say, okay, when are you going to be home, and how many beds do you need, and do you have a full kitchen, and what all kitchen items do you need? And there could be one person who can say, are you home during the days? Yes. So then I shoot off an email to June and Dave and Rose and say, they're home during the day. When does it work for you? And then they'll tell me, and then I'll tell the family. So it's just a way of streamlining the information. It's a lot of texts and a lot of questions and answers. And I'll let them speak to how you know what to provide. That's going to be in their presentation. We have always had an ambassador when we've needed somebody to move in. Mostly. And when we haven't, other people have pitched in. Alan Peachy has done a lot. Marilyn Graber is an ambassador. Wendell Friesen is an ambassador. And sometimes the ambassadors happen because you already have a relationship with someone. And it just is a natural thing. Well, I'll just keep relating to them because they were at my house for a meal or they've been living with me for a while. If that's something that you feel like you would be interested in doing, please talk to me afterwards or give me a call. It is something that you can do on lots of different levels. It's something that you can do without any Spanish. It's usually some phone calls and some texts. And the people who have done it have really enjoyed what they've done. For me, the process was incredibly life-giving. You hear stories all the time about, oh, I received so much more than I gave. And I know you've all been in those situations. For me, that was definitely what I experienced over the course of the last year. And the ability to see the stories and help out in what I considered to be a very small way, giving a ride to a preschooler because it was a little too cold out, or giving a ride to the grocery store for their first round of groceries because they just moved into a new house. They don't have a car. They haven't gone beyond their neighborhood, so they don't really know even where the grocery stores are. There's so much that they don't know how to maneuver, that just having somebody to ask a question to is very helpful. Back to the clothing, which we thought was just going to be temporary, but we're still doing it. Many people have said, well, why don't we just give them depot gift certificates, right? But the problem is when they get here, they've been through some pretty horrific situations and have been wearing the clothes on their backs for maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks solid. And it's difficult for them to even just exist in life, but to have the mental energy to say, okay, now where is this store called the Depot and how do I get there and what roads do it's just, we're providing kind of emergency clothing for them. We're providing clothing for them just to get on their feet. And then we have provided Depot gift cards also, provided by the Depot, actually. So that's been a blessing, the Depot's influence. Are there any, should we wait for questions till the end? I'll let you kind of mull that over a little bit. The clothing is in the balcony. And right now we do have, men's section and women's section and children. You'll notice in the announcements in the bulletin, if you click for volunteer opportunities, they usually list there what we are most in need of. So if you're wondering, I can pick some stuff up at the Depot and drop it by the office. Check that place out, and they will, sometimes we have not very many 4-year-olds, and sometimes we have a lot of 4-year-olds, and so we'll leave 4-year-old clothing. But you can check that out for the sizes of clothing and also for ambassadors. Those are kind of my main areas of knowledge, and I will let June now talk to you about kind of what has happened with furniture and how that has come to be.
I brought some notes along because I'm tempted to just go on and on and on and on. And so this should be helpful to keeping me in line. I decided, as Lisa has said, I am responsible or I volunteered for furniture. And it seemed to me that it might be most helpful for you to see what we do. Can't everybody go along? There's dignity and efficiency involved. Many of you have donated furniture, for which we are very grateful, but you haven't seen it be delivered. And so I'd like to just run through sort of how it goes. What am I not doing here?
Is there a remote turned on?
This is our latest pickup. So it starts with somebody calling, they have a donation. And this happens to be UC Char Carnegie. It wasn't her donation, but it was her daughter's donation, and her daughter wasn't home, so Char is our donor in this case. Then we start moving the sofas. Here you see Dr. Alan Peachy and Martin Ganawan lifting furniture. They donated 2 lovely sofas and a recliner. There's Richard Plank helping move one of the sofas out, and Richard and Joe Christoffel and Alan Peachy lifting it onto the trailer, and June and Char carrying the cushions. And here's the recliner, which Joe Christoffel and Martin were able to take the back end off of and so we could move the recliner, so we could move it up and down the stairs. Put it in the back of our van. Tie the things on the trailer down so they don't jump off when we're moving. And in this case, oh yeah, here's some of Joe's handiwork with his ropes and ties, and you'll notice the muscle in that arm. A little bit, it's fun, but this is heavy stuff. We no longer take it, and listen to this, as we go through, but we no longer take sofa beds. We just can't lift them. And often it's an apartment upstairs, or it's a small apartment with a winding staircase. It's just too heavy. So one of our donors was Goshen College. Goshen College, as some of you know, is redoing West Lawn for the new nursing palace. And so they donated a lot of Chester drawers, which are sturdy, solid wood, heavy as heck. Anyway, so here's, they gave us a whole bunch of them and provided storage in the Union Building. So here's a bunch, including herself, Lisa, and Dave Weaver, and Doug Caskey. We just put out the word. And Daniel, you see, and the other man with the baseball cap is the person who managed the Union Building. So heavy lifting was involved. Then there's Rose and Dave, who had tables for us. Now, they have a whole lot of other stuff, as you can tell. This is the Widmer hardware store in their garage, and with great gratitude for their garage. But tables were out there. Tables. Here we are moving in one table. I'm going to go through a quick sequence here so you can see the table move into our van, and then we added chairs. And now we go to the basement of the college church, where I have ordered 2 truckloads of mattresses, springs, and frames. We do not take used mattresses and springs. And in the beginning, I see nods. I think you are happy that we don't. It is illegal to sell used mattresses and springs, and we think that is for a reason. And so we are not giving mattresses and springs. I used to buy them from, well, I should give this just a little story. I looked around, went to all the mattress stores. Where do we find mattresses and how much do they cost? If you bought a mattress recently, you know they're terrible, expensive. And so I ended up at Elkhart Bedding, and I went to see the CEO, whom I don't know. His name is Chris. I don't know his last name. He knows me as June. He doesn't know my last name. But Chris and I had a heart-to-heart, and I told him what we were trying to do and asked him if we could have mattresses at cost. And he said to me, I believe in what you're doing. We can do better than cost. So we are getting our mattresses and springs and frames that cut, just the frames, not headboards and all of that, from Elkhart Bedding. And so we buy them by the truckload and store them in the Genesis room downstairs. Now that sounds like downstairs is far away, but there is an outside entrance to the basement. So we can do that whether the church is locked up or not. They've given me a key to that door and to the downstairs door. I have a key to the Union building, so we can pick things up whenever we want to. Here go the mattresses. The man in the yellow is young Carlos. Juan Carlos, who is one of our immigrants. And it's been a joy to include them in the delivery. They find a satisfaction in helping those who have helped them. And it's also nice for immigrant to meet immigrants. So there's the trailer load, Joe and Juan Carlos, tying them down so they don't fly away, and off they go. The crippled woman on the right is, on the left is me. We reach a household, and this is one of our donor, our recipients' houses. And you see us beginning carrying in piece by piece. Lisa grabbing a lamp out of the back of the van, carrying things. This is one of the few pictures of the recipients themselves. The woman in the aqua is the mother of the household. And the little boy under Lisa's arm there is one of the children of this household. This child suffers from autism. So it's a special needs family. I'll say a little more about that in just a minute. The other boy is, what was he, 10 or 12 years old, something like that. And he was eager to help carry furniture. Notice the hug. I've got to tell you, the hugs and the smiles as big as miles and the tears of joy in receiving this. If you've been a donor, know that this is for you. I really mean that. College Church has been hugely generous, but have not been involved in these kinds of events. We don't take a lot of people along because we don't want to make a spectacle of the recipients. But I like showing these pictures for you to see that these are the people you serve. We won't be seeing many recipients today because not real sure about everybody's legal status. And so we want to be somewhat private about that. So here goes that table you saw that we put in, and it's going into this house, somewhat difficult to maneuver, but it went in. Notice this is the dining room it went to. There is nothing there. The house, 5 people were living in this house, and there was nothing. We left a couple of tablecloths with that table, and again, great joy. The college dressers were heavy, and you can see that they, I don't know if you can see that they're wearing, what do you call these strap holders?
Yeah, they're just moving straps.
Moving straps, so that the weight is not all borne by your arms and legs, but it comes over your shoulders and your whole body can lift. But going up the stairs, around the corners, in one case, we had to leave the dresser out in the hallway because the door was too small to get it through. There is the recipient lady again. Notice items out on the bed, but they had no place to put them. I mean, they had no furniture, so though they had some clothing with them, in this case, they had been housed in, some of them lived 3 families in one house because apartments had been so difficult to find. So when they found their house, they had some clothes, but they had no thing to bring with them because it belonged to the people whose house from which they were moving. Beds moving in. This is now in a mobile home park. And the man in the yellow is Juan Carlos, and in the red is the recipient. Here we are moving to that same place. There was no easy access to the door of the mobile home. Now, when we have everything delivered, that's the end of the delivery. One of our big issues, this picture isn't particularly helpful at this moment, but one of the big issues has been we have not had a place to store things. So we've lost a lot of potential donations because if you needed to be out of your house by the 1st of October and we didn't have anybody who needed something, we had no place to go with it. And so it either went to wherever you sent it, to the depot or to peddler's auction or whatever. The Mennonite women have given us $1,000 to rent a storage unit for our storing of furniture donations until such a time as we need them. This particular picture was taken yesterday when we received those sofas. The first picture was Char at her daughter's house. We received those sofas there. And now we have a storage unit to move them into. Our storage unit is getting full. And but we are happy to have it. We have tables in there, we have dressers in there, we have recliners, we have sofas, we have bookcases. And so when we get the call, it was one Wednesday evening at 5 o'clock, Al Peachy called and said, we have a family, they just moved, there are 8 of them, and they have nothing. And I said, Al, I can't help you tonight, but tomorrow we can deliver everything they need. because we had stuff. And so the storage unit has become hugely important to us to provide things when people need it. I wanted to also simply say what our needs are. Basic needs. We use Church World Service MCC lists of what to give immigrants, refugees that need something right now. And so the basic needs they suggest are, well, first of all, beds. And I've explained to you, we do beds, we don't receive donations of beds. Dressers, someplace for storage. I want to say dressers, meaning chests of drawers, are most helpful. Floor space is often an item, a real shortage of in small apartments. The size of, I was looking in our bedroom, we have a chest of drawers and we have a dresser. And I won't donate the dresser, but I would donate the chest of drawers simply for space. Tables and chairs, and we receive all sizes of tables because sometimes we have a family of 8 and sometimes we have a family of 2. So we would collect any kind of table so that we can then accommodate the size of the family. And of course, chairs to go with the tables if you have them, and if you don't, if you have chairs, we'll just take plain chairs. Sofas or love seats. Love seats are welcome in small apartments. So, and a side chair. The regulations or the lists we use say there should be seating for every butt in the family. So if it's a family of 3, then a regular sofa could accommodate. Or if it's 5, then, you know, a sofa and maybe 2 side chairs, or enough so that there's room for everybody. Plus, then we also deal in end tables, nightstands, little tables to, you know, to put things on. We deal in lamps and desks, small desks, not executive desks or huge computer desks, but small desks, particularly where there are children in school and we need places for students, kids to study. And children's furniture, if you have from your children, high chairs, little tables and little chairs for them to sit at, any of that as well. I also want to mention our partners. The Depot has given us over $1,300 in gift cards. The Depot last year gave $750,000 to Akron from income from this store. And Akron said, we hope you are giving 10% to the local community. And so they gave us very generously and said, come back when you need more. Elkhart Bedding, as I've already mentioned, Goshen College with the dressers and other furniture. Other churches, we're getting donations from people who go to Waterford, to Benton, to Assembly, to Berkey, to Belmont, all kinds of, and Mennonite women. I want to mention Mennonite women for not only for the storage unit, but for comforters and other things they are giving. And Mennonite men, oh no, Mennonite men haven't done a thing. So I don't know who's in charge of Mennonite Fellowship, but I think they would really welcome the opportunity. Oh, okay. I guess I'm done. That'll be enough. How do I turn this off, Joe? Welcome, Mennonite man.
When Rose volunteered us for this position, we had absolutely no idea what to expect. So the first thing she did was, like June said, we got on the computer, we said, well, what do other people who work with immigrants do? And we looked at the Church World Service Program, and we basically now go by their guidelines of what they suggest we provide to families. They say we should provide sheets, pillows, towels, and washcloths. And so that's basically what we started out doing, was mostly providing pillows, which have to be new, as you can imagine, and sheets for their beds. And June only has singles and doubles. So we've had some donations of queens and kings, and we've tried to use those as best we can, but there are very, very few doubles or queens and kings that we can use the sheets for those. And I will say, in a sidelight for the sheets, if you have interest in donating sheets, we do take used sheets. Preferably they're fairly good used sheets. And it also helps if you identify if they're doubles or singles or queens, because it helps us, as otherwise we have to take them out and we have to measure them and try to figure out what the size is. But it does help if you can do that for us.
But Dave, we really don't deal in queen. and-
No, we do not. So it's preferably not to get that, but other people have given that, and we don't. They're just sitting in our basement right now in a box. And that's our storage right now, is our basement and our garage. And I told people, June and Joe and whatever, it would be nice maybe by the winter time if I could get my cars back in the garage again. So I'm not scraping and shoveling snow off of them every time I want to leave. And we'll see how that happens. But right now, that's our storage place. We also provide a lot of kitchen items. Silverware is very, very, of course, useful. Dishes, pots and pans, dishes. We prefer not good china. I can imagine that we don't really like to deal with the good china because it's a little bit quite not what they're looking for. We are more dealing in Corel or stuff like that. That's much more helpful for us than the very good china. We also provide, like I said, baking and cooking utensils, bowls and pans. A lot of times we try to provide a mixer if we can, if we have one available, blender. Sometimes people have donated little ovens, the little toaster ovens, and we find those to be very helpful, probably even more so than toasters, for example. That way they can use it for quick cooking or baking of an item rather than just toast. But we do take toasters because a lot of people do use those. And of course, coffee makers. Everybody can imagine they always like to have a coffee maker. And we've dealt in that. And a lot of these small appliances, like June said, we have either been donated to us. Rose and I are big fans of estate sales, garage sales. We often attend Penrose Village. And a lot of this stuff we can purchase for minimal amount, very minimal amount. And some of the estate people that deal in the States know us very well because we've been attending for a while. And they often even have given us stuff at the end of the sale. They said, oh, well, just take all this stuff here. We're just going to donate it or give it away. And so if we end up there at the last day, they've sometimes even given us stuff. With the depot, like June said, Galen Kaufman, who's in charge of the depot, Dwayne's brother, has given Rose and June hundreds of dollars worth of gift cards. And we use those gift cards then to buy kitchen items. We bought coffee makers, small appliances in there. And we don't use it to buy clothes because I think Lisa has got the gift cards for that. So that's a little bit of what we do. So I guess the thing I would just say is that think about if you were a refugee and we're starting out brand new someplace, what would you want in a kitchen? You know, that's the kind of thing that we're looking for. Simple. We don't want to set up their whole kitchen. We don't want to set up their whole household. We're just trying to set up basics to get them started. A lot of them have jobs and will eventually be earning money and be able to buy things. We do not provide electronics, TVs or whatever. So what's that?
Or appliances.
Or appliances like stoves and refrigerators, but most of that stuff comes a lot with their also. So that's kind of how.
Why don't you stay up just in case there are questions? Does anyone have any questions, comments that we didn't go deep into a certain subject that you're just curious about or interested in?
I think you should tell them the numbers of people you have helped.
Yep.
Yeah, that's, we did ask about that. That came up in Mennonite Women, and we kind of weren't sure. That's been published in the bulletin a few Sundays, if you haven't seen. Since last October, we've serviced 43 families, about 100, over 100 people. I think that's low, actually, just based on what we have. Just a couple of stories. The whole furniture, I feel like the furniture thing started actually with Arlen and Pat, who had twin beds to donate. And we were kind of trying to match them with a family, and we did. And that kind of got us started on, okay, we need to do this more then. When we have beds, how do we match the donation with the person? And that's kind of how June's position came.
And I would also say that when we deliver the household goods or even furniture, we always try to make sure we emphasize that this is coming from College Mennonite Church and the different groups that have donated the items.
Dan?
If we have dishes, pots and pans, etc., are we to bring them to the church office? Could you repeat?
Yes, the question is if you have dishes and pots and pans to bring them to the church office. Clothing, yes. If you have clothing, yes, to the church office.
And I would say you can bring them to the church office almost every Sunday. I pick up a box or a sack of items that people have dropped off, or you can call Rose and I, and we will come and pick them up also. I think Dell Good had some items that they donated, and when he took them into the church office, they said, well, why are you bringing this stuff in here? But in general, that works okay. Marie has a place over there that she has these items, and as long as it doesn't get too big, she can call us and we can come and pick them up also during the week.
I'm aware the Ukrainian Orthodox Church is helping some Venezuelans. Do you know of other Mennonite and non-Mennonite church that is involved in this kind of ministry?
I do not. I know that the Methodist Church downtown is doing the food pantry. We've had a lot of people call us to ask us what we're doing and how we're doing it. We want to work together. It's so difficult because this outreach kind of happened organically. It came out of a need, and we were kind of answering the need. And there have been a lot of suggestions. Oh, we should do this. We should. Yes, we should. And we hopefully it will become a more well-oiled machine the more we do it. It would be wonderful to work together with other churches. Knowing what all we do and the amount of time that we take, there needs to be some sort of a grant written for a person who can coordinate all of that. Right now, we did have somebody from Greencroft call, and they had some nurses that were coming, and could we provide some tables for them for their housing? And we had to say no. I mean, we can't get into helping outside of our church at this point, even though the need is very great. We're not big enough to do that, and we don't have enough people to be able to do that. But we certainly would love to coordinate ideas and make it bigger if we can work together. I mean, we're not trying to keep it just to ourselves, but we do need more staff and more people helping.
We are known throughout the community as the church that is doing this. We look to the Center for Healing and Hope for medical care. We look to the window for food. And So people from other churches are calling and making donations to our program. But we're known for clothes and house furnishings.
We got clothes from the Creekside Church of the Brethren
And
who wanted to contribute.
And we try to wear our name tags that say College Mennonite Church. Not everybody is coming to our church, and that is fine. We are serving immigrants. Some of them are very Catholic, and we are connecting them with St. John's, and we give them furniture.
Thank you. Thanks for your coming and telling about this boost, a material boost.
Yeah.
You give to people who are newly arrived, and we'll be hearing other aspects of this ministry too, as the next couple Sundays go along.
And keep Mennonite Fellowship in your prayers.
Yeah, who knows what other will come up here. Before we close today, there's one more announcement. Eugenio, you want to come up?
Bueno, el día de ayer yo recibí un cheque de esta iglesia
Yesterday, I received a check from this class,
y me sorprendió que decía que era porque había estado aquí hablando con ustedes de mi vida.
and it surprised me because I was here just talking about my life last week.
Entonces tengo que explicarles por qué yo no puedo aceptar ese dinero.
I have to explain to you why I can't accept that check.
Yo les pregunto, ¿cuánto vale un welcome, Eugenio?
I have to ask you, or maybe even tell you, what does a welcoming that I received mean to me?
¿Cuánto vale que Vic Stolfus me diga, buenos días, Eugenio?
And I have to ask you, how much is it worth to have Vic Stolfus give me a big bear hug and welcome me here?
O que Mary me dé una lista de todo lo que yo puedo hacer en su casa, de todo lo que puedo hacer en su casa ya.
And also then, like to have Marie to ask, what can I do for you here at my house to get it ready for you?
O que la familia Gross me acoja como un hijo en su casa.
And the Gross family to accept me like a son in their home.
O que me pregunten, ¿cuándo viene la oración? ¿Cómo está la oración? ¿Queremos ir a la oración?
Or then they ask me about my wife, Adoración, where's your wife? How is she? How is she doing?
¿Cuánto vale eso? Díganme ustedes en dinero, ¿cuánto vale?
And she told me, in terms of money, what does that mean? What's that worth?
Yo estoy en deuda con este colectivo, con esta iglesia, con ustedes.
I'm in debt to you folks, you people.
Y este dinero que ustedes generosamente me dan por yo tener el honor de dirigirme a ustedes.
And that money that you give me, how can I respond to that?
O sea, para mí es un honor que ustedes me inviten a hablarles.
Because for me, it's an honor for you to invite me to come here to speak.
Y voy a recibir dinero porque me den un honor.
And how can I receive money when it's an honor for me to come here and talk to you?
Este dinero es para ayudar a las personas que lo necesitan.
This money is for people who really need it, and you've heard about it today.
Y por eso yo se lo devuelvo a ustedes. Muchísimas gracias.
Therefore, I return it to you. Thank you very much.
With your permission, this will go to the program that they support.
Yeah.
Okay, point.
Thank you.
One last thing I was going to mention about the same thing. we often purchase a lot of new pillows and bedding from Burlington. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Burlington out by Dunlap at the Walmart. So if anybody is interested in also purchasing pillows or bedding, the single and double sheets, that's a very cheap and good place to do that. And you can bring them to the church or us, and we'll be happy to take them.